if you're following our Instagram, you knew this was coming up. After last weekend specifically, because I personally think, and I'll get to my answer in a little bit, that this answer was pretty clear until CJ Stroud had one of not only the best rookie games I've ever seen, one of the best games for a quarterback I've ever seen. 470 yards, 5 touchdown passes, and a game-winning drive in the last 40 seconds. However, what do we think here at PWTB? Not only in the NFL, rookie-wise, is he the best rookie in the 4 major sports right now? For those of you who don't know, NHL, NBA, MLB, and NFL. Jake, what you got?
Yeah, baseball season isn't going on right now, so we're going to talk about the number one overall picks for the in NBA, the San Antonio Spurs with Victor Wembanyama, the Chicago Blackhawks in the National Hockey League with Connor Bedard, and then the Houston Texans with CJ Stroud. The
Well, we're not
highest.
only going to talk about them, but to be fair, all my
Oh
players
yeah,
are on that list. So yeah, go.
yes, we're not only going to talk about them, but they are the rookies that you know, stand out the most on those specific teams. Um, in my opinion, I think CJ Stroud is the best rookie out of those three because when you look at Victor Wembanyama, he hasn't really, he has gotten the ball in some games. I believe he only has one 20-point game this season. So he has gotten the ball, but I'm sorry, he actually doesn't get the ball much, but when he does, he puts up the shots and they usually go in. And then with Connor Bedard, he's obviously a very talented rookie. A lot of hype going into the season for him, and feel like he's a close number two on that list. Honorable mention, we got Tennessee Titan quarterback Will Levis. Will Levis was just announced he will be taking over the starting job, so I believe Ryan Tannehill is still hurt. And Will Levis showed out in his NFL debut against the Atlanta Falcons. He showed out last week against the Steelers, even though Tennessee lost that game. I feel like that's the game when you knew he was the guy. And Evan can testify to this because I remember Evan texting me that night saying that he threw a pick to end it, but I think we found our guy. So that's what makes Will Levis an honorable mention for me. And then another honorable mention is Seattle Seahawks cornerback Devin Witherspoon. He has been spilling everywhere in this rookie season. I believe he has 2 sacks on the season and a pick six. So Devin Witherspoon is definitely an honorable mention for me. But I'm gonna throw this one over to Evan.
Okay, so you have some pretty good NFL analysis, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But we're missing something here. You brushed him over a little bit, but Connor Bedard is the best because he's a professional already. So you talk about the guy who came from the Canadian leagues. He's only 18 years old right now, playing for the Blackhawks, playing pretty good for the Blackhawks right now.
hmm
You talk about him
7 goals on the year, I believe.
already, which is insane. You talk
Yeah.
about that. He played 3 years in the Canadian leagues, which is essentially they obviously, yes, it's for under 18, it's for younger, but they run it like a pro leagues. There's like it's like free agency and stuff like that. Which team is it going to be traded to and all that? I was familiarizing myself with that, and I was like crazy blown away that how seriously they take it. But not only that, the Connor Bedard, they take him as like the NFL took Peyton Manning when he came out, when the NFL took Andrew Luck. Like, sure, there's a quarterback in the NFL draft that gets picked every year, but they're not always a generational. Like, we wouldn't, no shots at all to Bryce Young. We wouldn't call him a generational prospect. You're talking about those kind of guys. And that's what Connor Bedard kind of puts together for hockey. For basketball, or not all disrespect, all respect to Victor. But in basketball, they pop out those guys a lot. So it's hard to completely tell until you get to the NBA for that. For the NHL and the NFL, it's a little easier. So I do have Bedard, but and not particularly close either. Yes, Stroud played out of his mind, but I do have him. But to your NFL analysis, I'm so glad you mentioned Will Levis because it's closer than people would think, right? What is so special
Yeah.
about Will Levis? I didn't understand this in the draft. You go back and watch our videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, we just
Other
drafted.
than other
Hang,
than the
hang on
fact
a
that
sec.
he puts
Hang on a sec.
mayonnaise in the coffee.
This is important. Okay, yes, the coffee and his mayo escalades and all that. That is important. But this is an important point. Is because I said back then, and a lot of other people did. that there was nothing special about him. And on the front, that's kind of true. He doesn't put up crazy numbers. Yes, he had the 4 touchdown game against the Falcons, but he didn't throw for a ton. It was just, a big touchdown game. And he doesn't throw like a crazy deep ball. What people like about Will Levis is his timely throws. And I saw a comparison to Aaron Rodgers. I love that comparison. That's a great comparison because Rodgers makes the timely throws. He does the off the back foot. He can scramble around a little bit. I see that with Will Levis. I'm not saying he's the next Aaron Rodgers. He has the intangibles that you don't see every day with other day quarterbacks. So I think with those two, it's a little closer, but obviously CJ Stroud, you got to give respect to also. There's with the Ohio State quarterbacks, we all know how that goes sometimes. People don't think they're all that, but he is looking, again, I'm not going to crown him just like I'm not going to crown Will Levis yet. But he's looking very talented, but no, still got Bedard.
Yeah. Interesting that you were talking about Will Levis. A lot of people were writing him down. I think people remember I was all about Will Levis coming into the draft. Will Levis was my boy. I thought he was going to be great. He was awesome at Kentucky. I thought he was going to be great in the NFL, and I never really got away from that until he got his shot with the Falcons against the Falcons.
Okay, so I got to know though before we wrap this one up. So Connor Bedard, you picked CJ Stroud. Why is that? As someone who knows hockey pretty well, a lot better than I do, why is that? Why did you pick CJ Stroud over him?
Connor Bedard is still very talented, and like I said earlier, I believe the race is very close. Um, I just gotta give the edge to CJ Stroud because he is doing something that no other rookie in the NFL has done in a long time. He's putting up numbers that no other NFL rookie has done in a long time as a quarterback. So I gotta give the edge to CJ Stroud because of that.
So I think that's a fair thing. I just disagree, but I think that's fair. Why I disagree is because you look at the other CJ Stroud games. Yes, he's passed for 250, 300, but there was a period. I mean, you lost to the winless Panthers. You gave them their first win. So yes, a little bit recency bias here, though. Yes, amazing game against the Buccaneers, amazing comeback, worldly talented. But that's the discussion here. How talented is he? Not and we've got to consider that too, some of the losses and some of the struggles. And he's a rookie, that's fine. But Connor Bedard, I think, is all generational.